Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast. My name is Amir. Before I get into today's episode, I just want to thank everybody for following the podcast on Apple or Spotify. Also want to thank everybody for following on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and share and subscribe. So thank you so much. So for today's episode, I want to talk about a report that just came out saying that the 76ers are ready to give Jimmy Butler a max extension if he forces his way out of Miami. So the Philadelphia 76ers have been linked to the Miami Heat's Jimmy Butler for the past 3 weeks or so, ever since Pat Riley had his press conference, end of season presser, and mentioned that the Miami Heat have not talked to Jimmy Butler about his extension yet. He's eligible for a 2-year, $113 million extension on July 7th. And we all expected that Jimmy and his agent, Bernie Lee, would request a full extension as soon as he was eligible. And basically, Jimmy Butler has come out saying that I want a max extension this offseason, but preferably with the Miami Heat. I want to stay in Miami. He said he wanted to retire in Miami. So we all know that he's going to ask that specifically from the Miami Heat first and foremost. But as I was mentioning earlier, Pat Riley said in his press conference that we haven't had a conversation yet about the looming extension, and we don't necessarily have to talk about it this season, this offseason. We could wait till next year. Jimmy Butler's on our contract for one more season, guaranteed season. I think it's for $42 million. And then in 2025, he has a player option for 48. And so if he signs the extension, that $48 million player option would turn into like 52 or 53 million, and then he would add an extra year guaranteed. So he would be under contract for 3 total years if they sign him this offseason. But Pat Riley's like, hey, we're going to take a wait and see approach. Like, you've been missing a lot of games. You haven't been available. You haven't been healthy. And we want to ensure that you're available to put us in a better position in the regular season so that we're not in the play-in, that we're not a 7th or 8th seed, and having to go through that extra tournament and then being that road team essentially every single round. And he wants Jimmy to be healthy and available and play more than like 65 games. He's never played more than 65 games in a Miami Heat uniform. He's only going to get older. He's only going to miss more time. It seems like he already has been load managing in general, but he's also been load managing in games where he played 62 games or so last season, but like in 10, 15 of those games, he shot under 10 shots. Like, he was very passive, not aggressive, and seemed to be non-existent at times in games that were important because the Miami Heat missed the 6th seed by 1 game. They missed the 2nd or 3rd seed by like 3 games or 4 games. So every game matters in the regular season, and we all know that in the past few years. And last season was frustrating. So anyway, so the NBA executives, insiders, they know that Pat Riley is taking a wait and see approach, and we'll see what happens on July 7th when they do come out and request for that max. I believe he's eligible for that on July 7th, so I'm assuming Bernie Lee's going to come in and ask for that max 113 million two-year deal the first day they're eligible to do so. And so, again, it's no secret right now that the 76ers have been monitoring the Jimmy Butler contract situation. So Keith Pompey, who's a beat writer in Philadelphia, basically said that if the 76ers can't get Paul George in free agency, he's a free agent, unrestricted free agent this offseason, and speculated that he might leave the Clippers. But I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be true. Paul George has always wanted to go back home to Los Angeles. He finally made his way there. And I don't know if he wants to leave necessarily, but I'm sure he does want to win a championship. Not sure if he can win that championship with the Clippers because Kawhi and himself have been injured every single season, it seems like, since they've joined forces, I think 3 or 4 years ago. But either way, plan A, priority one for the Sixers has been Paul George through free agency. They have a ton of cap space, so they can afford it. Jimmy Butler's plan B, and I don't know if Jimmy's going to like to hear that because this reminds me of Tobias Harris over me again. You know, Tobias Harris was their plan A. Jimmy was their plan B. And we all know what happened. Jimmy Butler left, went to Miami. The rest is history. Even though I wish that history meant the Miami Heat won a championship versus just going to two finals. But it's been a fun run and it's been successful. But the Miami Heat have not been able to win with Jimmy Butler. And the Miami Heat, I'm not sure what they can do this offseason. They can guarantee that the Miami Heat will be contenders. There are a few names, obviously, Donovan Mitchell, maybe a Trae Young, that can help us. Like there's other players that are also interesting and intriguing, like Brandon Ingram, DeJounte Murray, and a few others that probably will pop up during this offseason and before the trade deadline. But I don't know if that's going to be enough necessarily to put this team over the hump. But if the Miami Heat can stay healthy for 1 year, which has never ever happened, maybe we can compete. You saw what happened this playoffs in the East where all the East teams have been injured. Even the Boston Celtics, I mean, they are missing Porzingis, one of their best players, but they still have three of their top five players. I mean, their starting lineup was insane. I mean, they're the best starting five in the NBA. So they still have Drew Holiday, still have Derek White, and obviously the two Jays. So, but they even were banged up, and every other team, the Knicks, the Heat, the Cavs, the Pacers, everybody's been banged up. So there's a lot of luck involved. So the Miami Heat can contend, but they do have to make some sort of move to upgrade this roster. But either way, 76ers are interested in Jimmy Butler. They will give him the max deal. They want to reunite Jimmy Butler with Joel Embiid. And I think he would be a great fit back in Philadelphia. I mean, adding him with now Maxey and Embiid will be really intriguing. Maxey is only 23 years old. He's going to be signing a max contract himself this offseason, but he's electric and he's a amazing three-level scorer. And so Jimmy Butler, we know, doesn't care to score during the regular season. Offensively, he's going to, hand the keys over as the Sixers have already done to Maxey. Joel Embiid obviously is going to be dominant. He's an MVP candidate, and he's been injury prone too. So they definitely need some more help, leadership, and they need someone clutch in the playoffs. They haven't got past the second round, and I don't even know since when. I mean, it's been like 25, 30 years. I mean, Joel Embiid has never made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So adding Jimmy Butler, I think, as part of their big three would be huge. You have your point guard in Maxey, who can score at all three levels, who's a great three-point shooter, who can attack the rim. And then you have Jimmy Butler, who could be that mid-range threat, who could also be super clutch for you during the playoffs and get those hard buckets. Amazing two-way player still when he puts his mind to it. And then you have your center, Joel Embiid. So that could be really intriguing. So two things have to happen. One, the Miami Heat have to put Jimmy Butler on the trading block if they're not going to offer them the extension. There could be a path where they say, hey, we don't think Jimmy's going to be healthy enough to carry us in the regular season. We don't think we can get Trae Young or Donovan Mitchell, especially if Donovan Mitchell does sign his extension. That could be detrimental to the Miami Heat. So that's one path they can go say, hey, we're shopping Jimmy Butler. We want draft picks. We want some cap space. What can you offer? Philadelphia will probably be one of the first teams in line, especially if they can't get Paul George through free agency. So the Miami Heat have to be willing to trade Jimmy Butler, offload his contract to get further assets to this team, especially draft capital. We have 3 picks in the next 6 or 7 years right now. So it would be very beneficial to get 2-3 picks for Jimmy Butler. That's one path. The other path would be then Jimmy Butler has to request a trade himself, basically saying, hey, you're not going to offer me this extension. If the Miami Heat go that route and don't offer him that extension, Jimmy Butler has to say, I want to be traded, or risk basically I'll play for one more year, but then I'm going to walk away and you're going to get nothing at this point. And so if he is disgruntled, then it makes sense for the Miami Heat to trade him to get something versus nothing. So this could be an interesting offseason. This is a big extension that has been looming, as I've mentioned. The 2 big extensions, that we have to look out for: Donovan Mitchell 1, Jimmy Butler number 2. Other teams are going to be interested in Jimmy Butler if he doesn't extend with the Miami Heat too. Anthony Chang basically said there's 2 mystery teams are willing to trade for Jimmy Butler and sign him to a full extension. Along with the 76ers, according to league sources, there are 2 other teams that have made it known in league circles that they would be willing to trade for Butler and sign him to a max level contract. Butler turns 35 on September 14th. I don't know who these two teams are. Are the Knicks one of them? Maybe. They have a ton of draft picks. Could they add him there into the mix with Brunson and Randall, who has been hurt? OG Anunoby's a free agent, so not sure if they'll be able to retain him, but Knicks could be another option. That would be horrible. Either way, if Jimmy leaves, I'm going to be upset. I don't want him to leave. I want him to sign some sort of extension. I don't want it to be for 113 million. If we can get it down to 100 or 95 million or 90 million, if we can keep him in the 40s, I'd be happy with that. But we know Jimmy won't be happy with that. He's trying to get his one last bag, one last contract before he eventually walks off into the sunset. But anyway, that's all I have for this episode today. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that the Miami Heat will be willing to trade him, or do you think Jimmy would request a trade potentially if he doesn't get this extension? Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a good one.